Right, so Michelle does discuss the importance of attention in exposure therapy, and for me, the first time I listened to this, it wasn't the attention I was expecting, and certainly probably not what I was practicing. The attention that Michelle is after is actually attention on the fear eliciting stimulus itself.
This is just a quick demonstration of the role of attention and salience. So I mentioned that I think what variability does is also keeping the person attentive. And the problem with fear habituation is that there's no new learning happening once the person's habituated, and they're probably not attending to the phobic stimulus as well as they should be.
This was a really interesting thing for me when I first listened to Michelle and started to implement that just into my training, and the results are really quite cool. You do have to be quite careful, and you do have to have a really well structured training plan for the session itself, and you do have to have some pretty good handlers. So there is a lot of, I suppose, back work that comes in, but I suppose this would almost to some degree substitute when you are in the environment with another dog, that instead of the dog eyeballing, what most commonly would happen would be you would call the dog's name and try and get the dog to focus attention on you or anything else other than the dog. This sort of flips that on its head a little bit and sort of saying like, hey, let's put the focus of the patient onto the fear eliciting stimulus, being the other dog, so therefore it is essentially forced to pay attention to it, therefore be exposed to it. With all that being said, I still do teach clients for the dogs to look at them, let's say for example from a heel position or in a static position like a sit or a down. I think it's a really good management strategy nevertheless, even if you aren't. You know what, like if it's getting your dog's attention back on you gets you through that situation, I think that's great at the end of the day. Like I think any sort of rehabilitation case, there is always going to be a level of management that's involved, and anything that can make the dog's life and our life a little bit easier when we do get caught out, because most of the time it's inevitable, you're probably going to get caught out. I think it's worth investigating, worth putting into. However, with all of that being said, the fact that the science that Michelle's putting forward here really does clearly state that they must be paying attention to the fear eliciting stimulus, I think is really, really important to put in our toolbox to make sure that we are actually truly exposing our dogs to paying attention to the thing that is creating the behaviour or the unwanted behaviour that we are trying to fix.
So focusing the attention on the object of fear, we think is quite important.